Well, along with everything else happening around here, I've had some time to work on the 816S that I got from Phil. And as you guys remember from his channel, I think he showed you guys this once, the 16 horse Briggs he had on his ended up blowing up. And there's the piston out of it. So it let loose and really did a number on itself. So I had an extra engine laying around. I have two of these. They're 15 horses from a Sears SS-15 garden tractor, and they just so happen to be the same exact size block. They're both, this and the 16 are both 32 cubic inches. So what I think Briggs did was just change the venturi size or the jet size in the carburetor to compensate for the extra 1 horsepower. So this has got a different shaft on it. The other one has an 1 1/8" shaft that's a little bit shorter. This one is stepped down to 1 inch right here. So what I did, so I can use this because I have the adapter plate here for it, is the machine shop in town. I had them spin out a bushing, so that way that's bushed out to 1 1/8", and then you have the gear here, and that'll slip on over that. And then the keyway here, which is a little bit taller because it goes through the gear, the bushing, and the shaft on the engine. So the only problem with this is you can see there's a snap ring that's supposed to be in here, because on the original shaft, I don't know if you could see it in the light, but there's a wear mark probably about 1/4 of an inch down. That's where the end of the shaft came, and that snap ring holds this keyway in. And when this goes on here, it's probably about that far out on the shaft. It's probably, I think it's a good 1/4 inch. So I really have no way to hold this keyway in. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm going to finish drilling this hole in, and I'm going to tap it for a 1/4 20 bolt, make a little bracket that comes up with a finger that pushes the keyway in, and then I'll Loctite it just to hold the keyway on. So I got all this engine together yesterday. I got it going, runs great, no smoke or anything, has very good compression. I put most of the 16 parts on it, so it's mostly red. Got the fuel pump mounted up today. Adapter plate's all clean, ready to go on. I also punched out a gasket for it for the back, so that's all set. But I'm going to be doing a video on this, but today I figured I'd show you guys that, and then tomorrow we'll check back if I have some time, hopefully, to switch this over, and we should be putting this up on the 816, getting everything mounted up. Well, I'm back here with the 816 today. I got some time to put the engine on, so this morning I got the adapter plate put back on along with the engine gear, and as you can see for the end of it, I ended up threading it and tapping it for a 1/4 20 bolt, and I just put a washer on there rather than the little bracket that I was talking about. So everything's really tight. The gear has a really small bit of play in it. It's really not too noticeable, but that should be okay. The bushing's nice and tight. I got my thrust bearing in there and everything. And I had to shave down the head of this bolt just a little bit because there's a 1/2 inch from the face of this gear out for clearance up to that shaft right there, because there's the bevel gear that rides against this one here that drives the transmission. So that should have enough clearance room. I got my bolts all set. So this is up on the cart here, and we're ready to roll it in, and we should be able to mount it right up. Okay, I got our 2 top bolts in. I got this one here and that one there. A little bit tricky to get lined up. So now we just got to put in the bottom bolts, and then I should be able to pull the cart out from underneath the engine. Alright, I got the engine all mounted up. Bolts are all tightened. I rigged up the fuel line here. As you can see, I pieced together a couple of pieces of fuel line with copper tubing because the original one was cut back there. It's really stiff. It's going to need to be replaced, but I don't have enough to replace the whole thing right now. So when I get more fuel line, I'll do that. I got the throttle cable hooked up. I'm missing another one of these little plastic nuts here, but it's not going to be going anywhere, so that should be okay. I still have to hook up the choke and I'm also going to have to get a muffler for it. I ended up cutting out that street L that was in there, so I don't think this one's going to be coming out, but I should have enough pipe to at least get outside over here somewhere underneath the fenders, and I'm just going to be putting on a regular coffee can muffler like that one for now until a later date. And if you haven't noticed, this tractor does not have a starter on it yet. It's just going to be pull start for now. The flywheel magneto is good, so it doesn't have to have a battery ignition, so I wouldn't have to switch over to a coil. Alright, everything's hooked back up, the muffler is on. We got gas from the tank up to the pump, so hopefully everything's in the right direction hose-wise with that. So let's give it a shot. Well, as you guys saw, I got it running. It runs a little bit of rough now that it's got a load underneath it. Adjusted the carburetor after the video and it evened out pretty good. It runs alright now. Tried it out, transmission works good and everything, no problems with the gear that I put on it. And this thing moves right along in high fourth. I was pretty surprised on how fast it'll go. So what I did is I just got through power washing it. It cleaned up very good. Looks pretty nice. I tried to scrub a lot of this pink paint off of here. I got most of it off. It's kind of more of a red now, which is nice. So I got the hood off and everything. Right now all I'm doing is I'm going through the clutches because there's a lot of grease and oil on the clutch pad here. So I'm going to get that all degreased and clean up these so those are all set. So I'm basically just going to go through this. I'm going to service it, oil, grease everything, make sure all things are moving, get things back into adjustment, so that way it's ready to go. And then maybe, depending if I have time, I can put the mower deck on it and we'll see what happens. But anyways, I'll check back with you guys after I get these done and a few other things here. Well, everything's back together on the 816S now. I finished up with the clutches and everything's been gapped, so nothing's rubbing anymore when it's idling. So it's all set, everything's back together, the thing runs great. I just finished up the mower deck this morning. I got that all washed down, sharpened and everything, so that's on here now, all hooked up. So I'm going to try for a little bit of mowing out in the lawn, see how it does. So we'll fire this up, and we can take it over and see how it cuts.